This is a time that everyone needs to be aware and everybody needs to know the truth. There's a reason they're censoring everything, because they don't want you to know the truth. I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm not here to put words in your mouth. I'm not here to put thoughts in your head. I'm only here to show you what you can see with your own eyes and then let you decide what truth is.
What are you blowing the whistle on?
That there are technologies at the South Pole Station that people can't even consider that exist on this planet.
Like what?
Directed energy weapon systems is something that people need to get into their vocabulary fast. The ice cube neutrino detector is not simply a passive listening device as presented for the science that they're claiming it to do. It also has the capacity to transmit.
Notice that the color of the reflectors were orange? That's a complementary color to blue.
what's that area?
Why are all the car doors closed? If I was running for my life, I would not bother to close the door behind me. I know why. They were incinerated. There's no bodies. They're gone. Watch Arctic Void. It's like a giant microwave. We've got to come up with a shield or something.
We are learning new details tonight about suspected directed energy microwave attacks targeting CIA officers and top national security officials. We first started hearing about them, and we told you about them here on Special Report in 2016, shortly after then President Obama opened the embassy in Havana, Cuba. National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon has the latest tonight about a suspected attack here at home.
U.S. officials say there are now 130 suspected victims, mostly CIA operatives and U.S. diplomats being treated for brain injuries, debilitating headaches and vertigo, the targets they believe of a directed energy microwave weapon.
There's a mysterious direct energy weapon that is being used, and it is causing, in some cases, permanent traumatic brain injury.
New indications suggest the incidents go as far back as 1996. Two individuals working on the NSC believe they were targeted in 2019 and in 2020, just after the election. One was near the White House and one was walking her dog. The Russians have been working on mobile microwave weapons for years.
We have to get more information, and we got to tell the public what's going on.
The U.S. Air Force and tech firm Epirus have developed a mobile high-energy microwave weapon to bring down drones. Epirus is also working on a miniature variant of the weapon that can be easily transported on a pickup truck. This is the type of technology that might be targeting American diplomats.
Russia certainly has the means and the motive to conduct these attacks. I mean, there's some evidence out there that certainly points to Vladimir Putin, the KGB operative in the Kremlin, being responsible.
The only victim so far to come forward, former CIA head of the Europe desk, Mark Polymeropoulos, was targeted while visiting Moscow 4 years ago and forced to retire.
It's pretty insidious because it also doesn't leave any kind of, open scars or wounds.
Mark lobbied for treatment at Walter Reed's National Center for the Intrepid. As part of his therapy, he painted this mask of a Superman cape with a broken CIA shield with an arrow through it to symbolize the moral injury he felt when at first he was not believed by the CIA.
The CIA is now taking the issue seriously, but without the actual weapon, U.S. officials don't know who to blame and how to stop these alleged attacks. Brett?
Jennifer.
这个热呀！这天，哎呦我的妈呀！雷电那样的都着火了，这是。在哪找着的？哎呦我路上了。 就这，对，还是那样。那颜色不一样吗？一样的，这回更猛烈。
我操！刚才一个大雷给这楼，全给那干成火花了，这啥情况啊？哎呦我操！哎呦我操！哎呦我操！哎呦我操！
You're gonna be okay, Milo. Milo, your mask is dirty. It's better. Holy. Yeah, just wash it. That's gonna be crazy.
I physically held a key that opened every single door in the facility. I had complete access to every compartment they manufactured.
What are you blowing the whistle on?
That there are technologies at the South Pole Station that people can't even consider that exist on this planet. Directed energy weapon systems is something that people need to get in their vocabulary fast. The ice cube neutrino detector is not simply a passive listening device as presented for the science that they're claiming it to do. It also has the capacity to transmit. There are embedded in the ice what are called digital optical modules, DOMs. They're about the size of a basketball. The array embedded in the ice is 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. It is the world's largest telescope. And now, because we have proven that it can transmit, it's the world's largest directed energy weapons system. It is responsible for the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand.
Does anyone believe those were truly wildfires? Wow, and I haven't met any of you, because I've never seen a wildfire go, I'm going to burn this, I'm going to step over this, I'm going to burn that, I'm going to burn that, I'm going to step over this. Where's Oprah's house? Don't touch it! Don't touch Oprah's house!
That's crazy.
No burn here, okay? So to me, this is like something out of a space movie, because you have this small field with some grass that burned, right? You can see where the grass burned. But then you have these two vehicles sitting in here that have melted aluminum. So Donovan, if you want to just take us through this car real quick and show us, I know you know a few things about cars, you can point out some things that require a very high temperature. By the way, we just talked to the neighbor who was talking to an investigator in Lahaina Town yesterday, and he said the investigator told him the temperatures reached in excess of 3,000 degrees. So tell us what you got, Donovan.
Well, we have about 300 degrees for aluminum, and this
300?
1,300.
1,300, okay, thank you.
1,300, well, 1220, but if you round it up, because it was not only melted, it was liquefied to the point where it became a river of aluminum going down the dirt hill.
So this is the aluminum rim, obviously. There's the tire, what's left of it, the steel threads or steel belts.
And maybe a combination gas tank if the gas tank's aluminum.
Okay, okay. So you have liquefied aluminum running down the side of a grass fire.
The caliper melted, unless they stole it, but it looks like the bolts are still there. So that, and then you get the belt, the steel belts of the tire, which is just a bunch of a wire mesh laying there, and you have the windows that were melted, the back window. If you look at the big old, like almost like
the glass is just melted.
Yeah, it was
dripping.
This is almost what you would see if you put a car in an incinerator.
But this is not surrounded by a bunch of structure fires or anything.
Yeah, there's no fuel.
So besides the gas that was in the tank, what's your theory on what could create temperatures at this level in the middle of a field?
Anomaly, I think is the word.
So this is the second anomaly.
Yeah, it's just that's why I stopped. I looked at it, I'm like, okay, house. Nothing's burned, and then you have melted steel and glass, and then the only thing that is left is the steel, the thick steel frame, and then the steel sheet metal.
So I don't know if you guys have figured this out yet, but the media has not been given access to Lahaina Town. Everything is locked up. Matter of fact, this gentleman next door, he was on Front Street yesterday, and he was supposed to get access, and then the mayor shut it down because people were taking pictures. So they don't want pictures taken of anything in Lahaina Town, because they don't want you to see this, would be my guess. Because the more that you take a look at this, and especially in this scenario, if there was a car like this in the middle of Lahaina, you might think to yourself, well, okay, it was in the middle of this major burn. There's an animal that died here or something. I'm smelling that
must like, be a cat that was under there.
That smells like a dead something.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so sad. That is so sad. That's someone's dog. Oh. So now we have another vehicle right next to it Talk to me about this one, Don.
Yeah,
what are you seeing?
It's symmetrical with the other one.
Yes.
They're pretty much identical. I mean, the heat is just tremendous, tremendous heat. Melting glass, melting metal, incinerating the tires to the point of, the only thing you see is the steel belts, which actually fall apart like spaghetti noodles when you touch it.
So the media is not allowed in here. No one's allowed in Lahaina town. So the only way this message is going to get out right now is if you, until your fingers bleed for America, start sharing this video.
Look what it did to the steering wheel. I mean, all it is the steering column.
We the people is all we got left here. And the more we get the word out and the more people start seeing this crazy anomaly, and we're seeing it in a lot of different places. Donovan here has been on a scooter. He was at the scene of the crime the day of the fire. He was helping people, rerouting them away from Lahaina as the cops had not blocked the southbound traffic until you got almost to Front Street.
Grass.
And notice the green grass here. Now, it's only been 2 weeks. I don't know if that's 2 weeks.
2 weeks of growth?
Is that 2 weeks of growth? We have green grass. You think is that 2 weeks of growth? Okay, maybe it is. But there's a lot of green grass here. I don't know.
Yeah,
Someone tell me how fast does grass grow? Is that 2 weeks of growth? Someone dumped some trash in there, right? I wonder who did that. It's kind of weird.
Some nice people.
Some nice people?
Yeah.
But if you don't share this story, I don't know who will, man. Someone's got to start putting this out to the people that can help. I've had people tell me, hey, you guys got to go do something. Really? We just got like a little 5G back and it doesn't even work. Every phone call we make drops. Right? Do you hear what's going on here? Are you hearing me loud and clear? They are creating a situation where it's impossible for us to communicate. Right now, I'm on a Starlink that's in the back of my truck over there. Thank you, David Crawford. So that's the reason I'm able to transmit this message, assuming you're getting it. If you're not, I have it recorded, and I will post it after we go live.
See if you can get down. Let's see inside the motor.
Is this the hood come up?
Oh, the motor's melted.
The motor's gone.
It looks like the block is melted.
And what's the block made out of?
Probably aluminum.
Probably aluminum.
If it melted, yeah. An iron block usually would hold out a little bit longer.
I mean, is it possible that they're making these cars with different types of materials that just have a lower melting point? But even if they did,
look it
wouldn't make any sense because we're in a field with just a little bit of grass.
The block is still there. It's turned sideways.
The block is still there?
Yeah, the aluminum valve cover is still melted to death.
So can a grass fire?
But how's it burn underneath the hood? That's the thing.
Underneath the hood is protecting it from heat, right?
Or oxygen.
Oxygen.
You can't get in there.
Right. So you have no combustion. And again, if you're just tuning into this live, the edge of the fire went to that little grass. This is all just grass, no trees. You can see a couple trees right there. It just went to the edge of the sidewalk. I mean, not even to the sidewalk. It just went inside of this fence, and then it stopped right before it got to this guy's thing, this guy's house. And just to orientate you here, you can see the roadblock of the National Guard right there. That is where the fire burn area starts at the top, not the top, but of Lahaina Luna. Sorry guys, I'm all over the map here. That, if you can see that blockade, that's actually where the burn zone is. So the fire was down there, okay? The fire was down there. This is above we're above the bypass. The fire was below the bypass. There was no fire here, except for this little tiny field.
Supposedly it only started a quarter mile away.
So we're going to go there next?
We can and go take a look.
Next we're going to go to where we think the fire may have started. This is interesting too. Is this 2 weeks worth of grass growth? Maybe it is.
No, it looks like the fire mist right there.
Interesting.
But you notice that house is untouched there.
Now let's just scan the houses next door so you can see for yourself that all these homes are perfectly fine. So there's no fuel to create the fire that's powerful enough. It's like if you burned your campfire next to your car and then this happened to your car next.
Well, everybody's thrown beer bottles or bottles in their campfire.
Right.
And I mean, look at the windshield. It's almost gone in the back windows.
So does everyone just need to go take a little Wikipedia tour on the melting points of things and just do some research?
Yeah, it's amazing.
What a good idea. So, because I didn't know much about melting points before all this started, and I'm a skeptic when it comes to all things outlandish. But to me, this is what now seems outlandish to me. And again, if you're just joining right now, please share the video because we're trying to get the word out. What's going on in Maui? Give to the Lahaina Fire Fund if you can. We've raised over $500,000. Every penny will go back into the hands of survivors. We're going to document it all. Don't worry. If you want to give directly to survivors, I'm going to try to get Donovan here to give me his Venmo if he wants to, so he can go give the money you give to him to the people that he knows that were affected. He doesn't need any money. I don't need any money, but we are trying to raise money. And the idea that I came up with, tell me what you guys think. Again, this is sort of like a public forum, if you will, for ideas. What if we create a fund called Buy Back Lahaina, and we make T-shirts, beautiful T-shirts. I've already contacted one of my favorite artists. Everything burned, all of his originals.
That's what I do.
He has 2 galleries on Front Street, all of his original work, 20 years worth of sketchbooks gone. He can't even come on camera. He's so destroyed. But I'm trying to no burn here.
Direct energy weapons such as lasers, the real cause of the deadly fires in Hawaii.
This was a direct energy weapon assault on the people. And I say that because my friend in Hawaii, which I'm going to show this picture here, showed a laser beam coming out of the sky directly targeting the city.
This photo of a laser beam that appears to be coming from the sky is actually from 2018. The image, which shows a streak of light and a ground fire, was used that year to falsely claim it showed a meteor landing that ignited a fire in Michigan. There was a flash of light from a meteor seen near Detroit in January 2018, but there were no reports of it starting a fire. And the image isn't even from Michigan. It was taken around the same time the meteor was spotted in January 2018 in Canton, Ohio, and shows a flare from a controlled burn at a Marathon oil refinery. A number of people captured images of the refinery fire. This particular photo was traced back to a 2018 Facebook post by the Canton Repository, a local paper requesting that residents share images of the burn. The photographer confirmed to the Associated Press that he took the photo from his parents' house in Canton. Another post used a different photo to also claim that a laser beam hit Hawaii, but that was a 2018 photo of a SpaceX rocket launch in California. An investigation is ongoing into what caused the wildfires that swept through the island of Maui and killed nearly 100 people. But Hawaii officials said that dry conditions, low humidity, and high winds helped set the stage for the fires to spread. We rate the claim that these photos prove that the Hawaii fires were caused by a direct energy weapon assault false.
Did you know that there are 2 sites in the U.S. that have these directed energy weapons? One is Nevada and the other is Maui. Let's start with this directed energy Air Force Maui optical and supercomputing AMOS site located on the island of Maui. May I quote from the website? Listen to this. Directed energy harnesses the power of the electromagnetic spectrum to enable airmen to effectively and affordably strike critical targets at the speed of light. Question: why Maui? Answer: it's a new smart grid in Hawaii dubbed the, quote, Jump Smart Maui Project.
Favis is an expert in computer science and advanced robotics. He has been researching the Maui fires and has compiled evidence that the technology exists to have started these fires from a satellite in Earth orbit. He has also confirmed that the CCP had satellites capable of doing so above Maui at the time of the fires. His work has been published on his website, stevefavis.com, and includes everything you need to recreate these findings. The most efficient way to ignite a fire on the surface from a satellite in Earth orbit would be to paint the target in segments by pulsing the laser with an advanced targeting system. To see if this were possible, Favis calculated what it would require to create a meter-wide, mile-long fire. Fired from a satellite, the Earth's atmosphere will absorb and scatter some of the laser energy. And so the laser would need to be in a wavelength range that minimizes this. The most effective wavelength would be in the near-infrared range, which would allow better transmission through the atmosphere. The near-infrared range would be invisible to the naked eye and would also have a minimal reaction with objects colored blue on the Earth's surface. The power of the laser would need to be in the hundreds of kilowatts range. And so Favis based his calculations on a 10 megawatt laser firing from Earth orbit, assuming that the atmospheric loss amounts to 50% of the overall power and only 5 megawatts reaches the surface as a 1 square meter beam. It would ignite a fire almost instantly. If this 5 megawatt beam was pulsed across a 1 meter by 1 mile long area in segments, then the time to ignite the entire area would be roughly 2.7 minutes. And it would only take approximately 8.8 seconds to melt an aluminum alloy wheel. The amount of energy required to pulse a 10 megawatt laser for 2.7 minutes would require approximately 3,220 capacitors, which would amount to about 32,200 kilograms in weight. Using MetLab software and plugging in public data provided from NORAD, he found that satellites launched and monitored by the CCP were directly above the Maui fires at the time of ignition. The CCP's most powerful rocket, the March 5, can launch up to 48,500 kilograms of payload, which is more than enough to carry the required payload in Favis's calculations. But Favis has found that the CCP has much more powerful lasers deployed already. He has calculated that the CCP has up to 70 gigawatt lasers in Earth orbit right now. That's at least 100 times more powerful than what he factored into these calculations. Adjusting NORAD's default coordinated universal time, or UTC, to the local time zones, Favis found the following. The Olinda fire was ignited at approximately 10:47 p.m. on August 7th. At this exact time, CCP satellite labeled NORAD 53299 was directly over the location. The Lahaina fire was ignited at approximately 6:37 a.m. on August 8th. At this exact time, CCP satellite labeled NORAD 55836 was directly over the location. The Kula fire was ignited at approximately 11:30 a.m. on August 8th. At this exact time, CCP satellite labeled NORAD 53299 was directly over the location. The so-called deep state does not want you to know that deadly lasers of mass destruction are freely traveling above us. And you can check this all for yourself at stevefavis.com, where he provides the source code and has developed a specific software program that you can download and check for these satellites yourself. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reed.
Anyone care to tell me how the fuck all that burnt, but none of this around it burnt, just this in the middle? Nothing around it.
Tiny campfire. And this is a horrific firestorm, they said. Why are all the trees still there? Yeah, all I can say is they don't recognize the organics, even though they're super hot. They seem to be much hotter than our regular wood fires, but for whatever reason, they're not recognizing organics. They turn everything brown, they suck the water out of it like it's in a microwave oven in your kitchen, Leave them brown or a light shade of green, but it will not ignite them unless they're in close proximity to metals. It has to be in close proximity to your metals, whether they're ferrous or non-ferrous, like aluminum. Your creek beds around here in California, I've noticed, or water-loving trees have burned from the inside out. Cooked like in a microwave. And these are willows, cottonwoods, alder, birch, maple, madrone. Not one leaf will be burned on them, even when the leaves are on the ground, but they'll cook from the inside out where the highest water holding capacity would be. Pines and more flammable trees are doing the same, but at a slower rate, even though the sap in many pines is more combustible than the water lovers by far. The needles will be brown everywhere, but they're not burned up. White ash. Where's the black? Where's the carbon? So you're thinking intense heat. Well, why are all the trees still there? A palm tree is easy to light on fire. They burn up in a second. They're like grass. They're thin. They'll burn in seconds. Yet I look at them, they're kind of super wilted. They turn black. There's a black color to all these dead trees. If it doesn't ignite, these leaves just kind of wilt and turn dark colors. Another anomaly. They should all have been gone. With this kind of heat, everything should have been gone. Should have been stumps of trees. That didn't happen.
And it should be black, not white.
That's right. Every house I've seen burn up, all of them have been burned to the ground, white ash. I have not seen much of any black anywhere. Everything else is completely gone.
Yeah, the toilet, the fridge, the stove, which I've seen, houses and the stove is there. It doesn't go to ash.
That's right. This is the giant banyan tree I've heard about. Here you have a fire all the way around it. Even the boats were on fire. After the fire, I see leaves everywhere and all the aerial roots coming down. They look kind of sagging and black, not necessarily burned up. And here's a wood pole to your left, whether it's a splint or I think there's lights on it. It was so hot it forgot to burn the wood. Dry wood. Dead trees I've noticed that are dead before the fires, they're not burning. There's no moisture in them. Yes, the whole hood, it got so hot, the metal hood melted out. That's pushing 2,750 degrees. 2 fire captains I know of, they say they've never seen vehicles in their whole career like this. Windows are never melted. They might break. They don't even sag. They break or shatter or fall out, but they don't melt. That's 2,500 degrees and up. They start to melt at 25. So what could do that? You don't have enough fuel in this Jeep. And I don't mean gasoline. I mean the fuels, the plastics, the seats, the cushions. All that isn't enough to get this kind of burn. I see dead trees, but a firestorm would have left sticks. There'd be no leaves on it. That's your fire. The leaves, like in California. All that they're clearing out. Now it has to go to the local dumps somewhere. Follow them to the dumps. See what they're dumping. They're eliminating evidence. Here's your trees in the background. No, it's the same old thing.
We can prove that this is not natural, then maybe the insurance companies will turn it over and they'll have to pay and we can change this.
The garbage can and the wood to the left, whatever that wood was for, didn't burn up. Where'd the fire come from to burn the house? It had to come through the forest. Now everybody knows about this. These are the umbrellas. This is synthetics. I mean, if you got flying embers, where's the holes? And if they are flying, they're not the normal fires we know of that will burn synthetics. There's something else. So there's your palms, there's your synthetics. The building's gone. It's just metals. And these things didn't burn up. Nothing, I mean nothing added up. When I see forest fires, the trees are burned up. The needles are gone. The twigs are gone. Many of the branches are gone. Sometimes the trunk is burned down halfway or all the way to a low stump and even holes in the ground. That's the way they burn. No exception. They don't leave their needles on there. With their needles on there, how do we even call it a forest fire? The forest didn't burn. I saw this picture on the internet from a drone possibly, and I see these buildings, a Jack in the Box, McDonald's, and a gas station. And they're just completely burned, leaving only metals and stone. But what I see is the trees. When you don't see the forest burn, but yet houses are, and some of these materials don't burn, what is going on here? And many of the fire captains and other workers have said, we've never seen fires like this, or the fires were so hot we couldn't even get close to them to put them out. And they were also very hard to put out. I believe most of these fires are microwave based. They're not normal wood fires that we know of. Many materials will not burn. The same stuff exactly that I've seen in California. No different, all the same fire footprints. Things that don't make sense. Here, a home's on fire and nothing else. And I believe that's because of all the metals, whether they're ferrous or non-ferrous, that are in a house. These things get hit, they burn, and it's rare to see a tree burn or any plant unless it's in very close proximity to the house.
Look at that. That house must be made of something special or owned by somebody special. Standing tall amongst all those other burnt down houses. But not the trees. The trees are still standing. Can we say direct energy weapon?
Oh no. That's crazy!
It's basically a weapon that can disarm or even kill somebody or cause complete destruction without ever having a solid projectile. It's all energy and sound waves. The untrained human eye can't see it. On people, it can cause things like the Havana syndrome, and other non-lethal neurophysical symptoms such as difficulty breathing, disorientation, nausea, pain, vertigo, and other things. There's a few different types of doom. One of them is microwave, the second one is a plasma weapon, there are laser weapons, sonic weapons, and the first known use of DO is a legend based on Archimedes using mirrors to direct the sunlight to burn ships during the Roman Empire's war against its home city of Syracuse. They used it in World War III and the Cold War and the Iraqi War. And DO's capabilities can range from disabling to destruction. Why does that matter here with the climate change? There is a common belief that the government is actually the one that is starting all of these natural disasters itself. It is doing so to convince the people to give them more power in order to combat the climate change. That could mean anything from paying more taxes to relinquishing control of your gas stoves, your gas-powered cars, and anything else that they think is affecting the climate. It's just another tactic to scare you into compliance. I always go back to the saying that just because something is a false flag doesn't mean people didn't get hurt, doesn't mean people's lives weren't destroyed. New technology is a very, very real thing, and after the whole COVID fiasco, I would not put anything past our government to pull off a stunt like this. They will literally do anything to stay in power, to keep people afraid, to keep people divided. So let's talk about DO, or direct energy weapons. It's basically a
All right, I can't be the only one whose entire For You page is about these Maui fires and how sus they are. This is Maui right now, the city that got destroyed. Look at it. I've seen countless videos of this direct energy weapon just laser beaming from the fucking sky in a blip of a second starting massive fires. It is a literal thing. It is a literal patent. Directed energy weapon. They don't want you to know about this. Here's what the guy looks like. Just shoots beams out of the skies, bro. And here's another image. And here's a street in Maui right here. Here are what trees actually look like after a natural forest fire. Have you guys ever driven through like Colorado or Oregon and seen like the tree? It literally looks like apocalyptic. Again, here's Maui. Look at this. And look at this. I said I wasn't going to post any more theories and shit like this, but how do I ignore this? How am I supposed to like just allow them to laser beam an entire island and not say shit? I feel like I would be on the wrong side of history if I just allowed myself to watch all these things happen, right? So what do we do? Can we do anything?
It does appear like a bomb and fire went off, like a bomb and fire went off, like a bomb and fire went off, if I may. And all of those buildings virtually are going to have to be...
I've encountered one of these before. It's a clever little device. It delivers a solid punch right up into the organs. Now, I never felt it myself. What I'm absorbed, it's rather effective. Who else is involved? Is the liver over here? Or is it the spleen?
Energy is the use of electromagnetic energy such as high-energy lasers, high-powered microwave devices, and laser SATCOM communication terminals. Direct energy has two primary applications. The first one is a very, very high-intensity beam of light that has the ability to identify a target at a very, very long distance, or if necessary, to destroy that target at a very long distance. Another application of directed energy is a very high-intense beam of radio frequency energy that can be applied to a target to disable that target, to either disrupt the electronics or to cause damage in other fashion. One might imagine that directed energy is a relatively recent development in warfighting, when in fact it goes all the way back to Archimedes' time. It's reported that Archimedes used mirrors to direct the rays from the sun at approaching enemy ships to try to set their sails on fire. But today, we've gotten to the point where these weapons are
This was me last week after a direct energy weapon attack, also known as DEW.
It is like the worst attack ever. When you go to the people around you who you need the most, they think that you're crazy and they tell you to go get professional help. I am going to get an MRI. No psych meds are going to help with a torture device, a weapon that is energetically attacking your cranium. And why the hell would somebody make that shit up? It is so painful. I was on the floor today crying. For anyone who's going through this right now, I'm so sorry. And We need to stay together, and we need to rise above this. So many people are afraid. They'll just keep getting more and more people.
This was planned years ago. It's now happening. And all the poor people, the homeless, the hardworking people of the hotels, the kapuna, we lost everything. So you could have your satellite city.
Why is our town burnt down? Why are our families' houses gone? And if you can explain that to us in a logical, reasonable way, we'll accept it. But right now, there is no explanation.
A small family had to evacuate, and their property manager had the nerve, because their house was filled with ash, that they didn't deserve to still remain in the property because they left the windows open when they were evacuating.
Most of them are they're even worse off now. I'm coordinating hospital visits because of the way that the system and the governor has imposed rules without any dialogue with any of the people who are doing the work on the ground.
Lahaina needs to decide what happens in Lahaina.
But I need you guys to hear me out. You don't see what's going on.
Oh, I see plenty of what's going on, which is just the fact that the people who brought you fluoride is turning us all communist, the people who thought Oklahoma City was an inside job, that 9/11 was an inside job, that COVID was some sort of lab thing created by the United States government to control us, the people who think Agenda 21 is real. It's just the latest conspiracy by people who have no control over.
So it was a laser. For the people who don't know, he's saying that it's a laser.
Deuterium? Okay, fine. It is a satellite that was launched by the United States because the United States is the only one who has the rockets available to launch satellites that are big enough and advanced enough to do this type of shit. It has a chemical laser in it, a deuterium fluoride specifically chemical laser that fires at a 351 nanometer wavelength, a laser wavelength that is very specifically utterly not affected by the atmosphere whatsoever, which is very convenient.
And he's saying the evidence to support that
So the evidence that I have to support this is, number one, behold the selective targeting. You have this area utterly annihilated, this area utterly annihilated, this area utterly annihilated, this area utterly annihilated, this area conveniently fine, this area mostly fine. The building was destroyed and a couple of the cars are destroyed, but most of them are fine.
So you can see the destruction is selective.
The destruction is extremely.
I'm standing out here with the layered laser defense system behind me at White Sands Missile Range, and we are demonstrating a significant advancement in the capabilities of laser weapon systems against threats that are of interest to all of our war fighters. So in partnership with the Office of Naval Research, ONR, we have demonstrated the capability of negating a surrogate cruise missile in flight with our compact laser weapon system.
Pictures on. Kill and dealer on. Track looks good. All right, there we go.
In today's event, it's the first time that a modern fiber laser weapon system with adaptive optics was able to negate a cruise missile.
Was Maui hit with a directed energy weapon? Photos are circulating online that allege one was used. However, many of these can be quickly ruled out, like this one, which is from a SpaceX Falcon 9 launch in California more than 5 years ago, or this one from an oil refinery fire in Canton, Ohio. This one from a fire at a gas station in Russia was edited with a red laser beam, but the original from 9 years ago doesn't have one. There's also this video from a blown transformer in Chile several months ago that's being falsely promoted as a directed energy weapon in Maui. There is this surveillance footage from the Maui Bird Conservation Center that shows a large flash in the forest. Some contend this is a directed energy weapon, but in reality, it was a power line fall that created an arc flash when it came in contact with vegetation.
Oh, it's nothing to see here. Just dew, do, Mountain Dew, or a direct energy weapon. Again, TikTok, this is for entertainment purposes only. These are a skit. This is a skit, okay? It's all a lie. But anyway, so a lot of people are taking videos and pictures of the skies around these storm times, and they're starting to see these beams, and everybody's like, what is this? Is this a portal? No, this is actually a laser beam. This is part of a DEW, a direct energy weapon. And what's happening is, just like in Hawaii, Canada, Turkey, Louisiana, and so many other places that's on fire, if you watch these videos really closely, you will see these little bands, laser beams, come out of the sky, and you can see it like just fry houses. Like it's like somebody's sitting somewhere with this big old machine, and they're just like, you know what I'm saying? Psh, psh, psh. They're like setting everything on fire. And that's pretty much how it is. They can direct it wherever they want it, and they can also skip over whoever they want to skip over, if you know what I mean.
The world as we know it is about to change forever. We're talking about a power that can obliterate anything in its path from miles away, without a single sound being heard. It's not just some pipe dream, but a cold hard fact that's been around since the days of Archimedes. That's right, the same guy who figured out how to sink Roman ships with the power of the sun. Now, we have high-energy lasers, HELs, that are the top dogs in the directed energy weapon game. These invisible beams of pure energy can turn anything they touch into ashes, and they're being developed for everything from missile defense to space wars. But let's not forget the recent Thomas fire in California, where entire blocks of houses were reduced to rubble, while surrounding trees were left unscathed. Some are saying it's the work of directed energy weapons. The fact is, this technology is no longer science fiction, it's a reality that we can't ignore.
Physically held a key that opened every single door in the facility. I had complete access to every compartment they manufactured.
What are you blowing the whistle on?
That there are technologies at the South Pole Station that people can't even consider that exist on this planet. Directed energy weapon systems is something that people need to get in their vocabulary fast. The Ice Cube neutrino detector is not simply a passive listening device as presented for the science that they're claiming it to do. It also has the capacity to transmit. There are embedded in the ice what are called digital optical modules, DOMs. They're about the size of a basketball. The array embedded in the ice is 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. It is the world's largest telescope, and now because we have proven that it can transmit, it's the world's largest directed energy weapons system.
So directed energy weapons. This machinery can plant voices in your head. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more and what that means?
So imagine that there's a point in your life where you have a decision to make. And at that point in time, it's like you have multiple voices of yourself in your own head having a conversation about what should I do next. Now imagine if I had the power to copy your voice and insert another aspect of you into the same conversation. But now I control what that voice says. Now people can make that voice say whatever they want. What if they can do 2 of them? What if they're very repetitive? This is what the Nazis learned, is if you just keep repeating something enough, you can convince somebody of anything. The world.
Wong. Top story, Santa Barbara. 10,000 acres of wooded residential land were scorched in an instant when a laser cannon aboard the Strategic Defense Peace Platform misfired today during routine startup tests. Casey?
Yes, it was a day of mourning for the families of 113 people known dead at this hour. Among them, 2 former United States presidents who had retired in the Santa Barbara area. A day of mourning for a country.
Building collapse around this car.